Final Fantasy V has tons of gimmicky and weird equipment, and it's no surprise that the accessories slot has some of the gimmickiest stuff throughout the game. Rather than a ranking or tier list, I'm just going to be talking about the more interesting accessories you can find, since most of them are just standard defense boosts, maybe a debuff immunity here and there. So starting off, here's the ones I would call essential. The Hermes Sandals are definitely number one, and no surprises here, the item that gives you permanent haste is one of the best accessories in the game, and it most likely is the best one. Haste is the best buff in the game, so not being able to lose it through dying, or getting hit with slow, or dispel, or anything else makes it amazing. The main downside is that it can't be gotten until World 3, and they're 50,000 gil each. That honestly isn't that bad a price by itself, but since World 3 is full of tons of expensive stuff to buy, it could eat into your money pretty fast. Personally, I would also call it the best accessory, but I very rarely use them in 4-job Fiestas where I have access to haste in some other way. I mean, I'd still give one to my haste user so they can start their whole buffing thing sooner, but if you don't have a time mage or samurai or whatever yourself, it's almost necessary to have. The Elven Mantle will be the learning process for why you shouldn't rely on Optimize. There's an NPC that even says as much. Shields are great in Final Fantasy V, and having an extra shield in your accessory slot is similarly great. For some reason, the Elf Cape doesn't actually add to the evasion percentage, so I don't know how that interacts with shield evasion, but whatever. Being able to give dodge chance to any job is awesome. Same thing with the Men Gauche. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Somebody told me how to say it. It even boosts your magic and agility by a little bit, which is an extra bonus. The best part is that you can get 3 of them for free. The first one in Castle Walt's basements is extremely difficult to get if you don't have a thief, because the thief's combination of preventing back attacks, high agility, and instant flee ability makes getting in and out with all the loot pretty simple, if not without a couple sacrifices. Although, if you don't mind getting a bit cheesy, the quick save, quick load bug thing lets you very slowly go through the basement without getting any encounters. Just quick save and load, walk a few steps, quick save and load, etc. It takes forever, but hey, free stuff. You get another one in the Karnak Castle escape, so that one is missable, but getting to it and the knife on the opposite end of the castle is easy enough if you know where you're going. 90% of the chests during the escape are elixirs anyways. The last main one is in the Moogle Forest, and this one is super easy to get, basically free. You can steal any extras from one of the enemies in the Phoenix Tower, but since you're in World 3 by that point, you're probably going to be using the Hermes Sandals. But yeah, great accessory. I'd say the Coral Ring is on the borderline between essential and convenient, because they're absolutely necessary if you want to fight Shinryu, and extremely useful against Leviathan and Twintania. Flame Ring is even more suspect, because to my memory, the only fights that have full party fire effects are the Fire Crystal and Necrophobe's Barriers, and it's pretty easy to beat those two bosses before it gets to that point. But it's still really useful, because elemental immunity or absorption is great, and for shield users, being able to combine it with the Diamond Shield for some kind of resistance against all 3 of the main elements is amazing. Plus it has the niche use of making the Bone Mail actually usable, so you can use your own fire spells as healing. The 2 rings' weaknesses to water and thunder also don't really matter that much, because those are extremely rare elements for enemies to have. In the level 1 run it made me take double damage from Shinryu's lightning attack, but that's percent based, so it wasn't an issue. I will say though, while you get a couple for free, there's still 50,000 gil, and in World 1 that's almost unthinkable. Maybe you can afford one of them without grinding, and in World 3 they're fighting for dominance over the Hermes Sandals, a fight they're almost guaranteed to lose. Both great accessories, just a bit less ubiquitously useful. So now we're past necessary and more so into the pretty nice to have category, not listed in any particular order. You might juggle these around depending on your job composition, what boss you're up against, or how far through the game you are, not just an auto use like the Hermes Sandals. The Angel Ring is the stepchild of the 3 History Rings. It's a lot more situational, but still really good. Zombie and Old are 2 of the most debilitating debuffs in the game, and the fights where they do show up are usually pretty difficult or at least annoying. The Soul Cannon's ult launchers can cut your damage dramatically if your frontliners are ulted early on, and X-Death at the end of World 2 is one of the most difficult bosses in the game, even beyond his ability to wipe you with zombie breath. Plus, the ring's stats are great, giving 5 defense, 10 magic defense, and 10 magic evasion. People in the comments have told me that magic evasion is apparently a hidden stat that a lot of random equipment have, which somehow I never knew about, but seeing that this ring has 10 of it is pretty fantastic. Great accessory, but its lack of availability and niche use cases for its immunities make it way harder to slot into your teams. The Reflect Ring completely shuts down 2 bosses, Omniscient and Catastrophe, destroys Bahamut, and can be an extremely useful set of rings otherwise, if you're okay with not being able to heal yourself reliably. This synergizes best with White Wind, which ignores Reflect, but not even being able to get free recovery from the healing staff really sucks sometimes. But yeah, you're almost entirely immune to magic, and there's at least one boss that will waste turns trying to cast Dispel on you to no effect. The 2 big issues here, behind the whole no cure spells thing, is that 1, getting the rings is tedious at best because they're either a rare drop or a rare steal, and 2, they give no stats whatsoever, which is a legitimate problem since even the most innocuous piece of equipment will give some defense. Definitely a must-have accessory for some fights, but most people will probably ignore them until then. Losing cure is just way too hard of a pill to swallow. Here's an important question. What does the stamina stat actually do? It's clearly supposed to be the HP stat, because the higher a job's stamina, the higher the job's base HP. But stamina given from equipment seems to do absolutely nothing, and that especially sucks because the Protect Ring gives 5 of it, which is one of the biggest buffs to one of the 4 main stats in the game, from a piece of equipment anyway. This is actually why I think the White Robe is wholly inferior to the Black Robe. The White gives +3 to magic and stamina, but the Black just gives a flat +5 to magic. The Protect Ring isn't bad, it's got great stats, and regen is a decent buff, but man, if it actually boosted your HP, that would be fantastic. And since that's another thing that Pixel Remaster didn't change, it's going into the it's a feature, not a bug pile. Also, as long as you're good about checking chests, you'll probably have a handful of these rings by the end of the game. Optimize loves to auto-equip these over everything else. Why the fuck can the power armlet not be used with the jobs that it's best with? I get that's an intentional design decision, so you can't just stack every single strength increasing equipment on one person early into World 2, but like, why? There's so much broken shit in this game. This is a weird place to draw the line. I guess you have the Titan's Glove to fill that role, but there's a few problems there. 1, it's a drop from Azul Magia, one of the last bosses in the game. 2, it's heavy as shit. And 3, I didn't even know this was in the base game until someone told me after the weapon ranking video came out. Okay, that last part is my fault, but still, the strength increasing accessories are extremely strange in this way. The Genji equipment overall is pretty good. Got some good immunities in there, lots of defense, and the shield has the highest physical evasion chance of all shields, a whole 50%. The gloves are no different, minus the evasion thing, boasting 12 defense and only having 6 weight. Still pretty heavy, but considering that defense boost is equivalent to some body armors, nothing to scoff at. You get it midway through World 2 on Zizat's ship, so you can rock these gloves for quite a while before they inevitably get replaced by Hermes Sandals or an elf cape or something. Stealing sucks ass in Final Fantasy V. Even with the gloves, it's not guaranteed, 80% chance at best, but being able to increase the odds at all is nice. It's also a great thing that you get it so early, right before the 3rd crystal, so if you're stuck with a thief in a 4-job Fiesta, at least you'll have a decent accessory to carry around for a large chunk of the game. The fire ship is also where you can start stealing high potions, which I put to great effect in the worst jobs run. It even gives 1 agility, which is, you know, it's something. Somebody made a video about all the great stuff you can steal in this game, and I would recommend it if you ever roll a thief in a 4-job Fiesta. Okay, as far as usefulness goes, the Kornago Gourd is actively detrimental because it's one of the heaviest pieces of equipment in the game and gives no stats. The only way to acquire it is similarly annoying because it's in early World 2, you have to catch the Kornago enemy, and you have to give the wizard 10,000 gil. But it also makes capturing enemies significantly easier. Just throw a gravity on somebody and they're ready to capture. Not an accessory you take into bosses or important fights, just something to make your life a little less tedious. The Kaiser Knuckles are the closest thing to a legendary weapon that the monk is gonna get. The Kaiser Knuckles are pretty cool, and definitely a piece of equipment that should have been gotten way sooner. You have to go through 2 of the tablet dungeons before you gain access to it, and outside of 4-Job Fiestas, you've probably stopped using the monk a long time ago. But for those die-hard monk players, and those stuck with a subpar class in 4-Job Fiesta runs, these Knuckles have got your back. However, you do also have to consider the opportunity cost of not having permanent haste. If you have a haste user of some kind, it's not a big deal to just slap on the Kaiser Knuckles. But otherwise, the Hermes Sandals are going to come first every single time. Being able to attack twice as often is way more valuable than doing slightly more damage per turn. Well, that's every accessory I would say is particularly notable. Like I said, most of the accessories just give a little defense boost, or magic defense, or a little magical evasion or something. Stuff you'll find in the beginning of the game, or in random chests. Equip them for a battle or two and be like, I like the elf cape better. I think everybody already knows that the Hermes Sandals and the elf cape are the best accessories, but you know, there is some other stuff worth considering at certain points. Anyways, see ya.